the more that you practice waking up out of thoughts, just a simple practice, 10, 20 minutes a day of noticing when the mind's drifted into thoughts and waking up and having some presence-centered awareness that's not conceptual. It's when we wake up and experience the quiet or the space between the thoughts that we can start seeing reality, that we can start recognizing who we are and recognizing each other. The thoughts separate. One guy was sitting at the bar and he said to a bartender, I know I'm nothing, but I'm all I can think about. And this is C.S. Lewis. He says the opposite of pride is humility. So this is what he says. Humility is not thinking less of yourself, but thinking of yourself less. So this basic training we're doing in meditation to wake up out of conceptual mind actually starts loosening and dissolving this whole trance of a self who's better or worse. So that's the ground level, is to keep practicing waking up out of thoughts. One woman I was working with after a breakup, and she had been in her life, as many people had a string of rejections, and so it plunged her deep into the sense of, I'm undesirable. I'm too sensitive, I'm too insecure. As soon as I want to be with somebody, my wanting makes them go away. It was that kind of a syndrome. And so we began to bring the two wings of awareness, which is to notice what's happening in her body, okay, and also to bring a love to it. We began to explore that, but we started with what she was believing, just so that could be framed and seen. And the belief, the egoic belief that was there, was, as I mentioned, this kind of, I'm basically flawed, and nobody will ever want me. So that was the deflated belief, the core belief. And I asked what I often ask, and you'll find this. There's some wonderful work on working with beliefs and with thoughts that's out there now. But I asked the question: is this true? I mean, is it true that you're flawed? Byron Katie is one of the teachers I most admire, by the way, on working with these thoughts and beliefs. Is it true? Is it true that you're flawed? Is it true that you'll never, ever be close to anyone? And she basically said, look, I know that I can't know it's true, but it feels true. And that's good enough. That's what often is the case. It's like we can say, all right, I don't know it's true, but my body feels it. But just by acknowledging we don't know it's true, a little bit of space starts opening up so we can do a little more work. So then I ask, the next question I often ask is, what's it like to believe that? When you're believing you're flawed, when you're believing you'll never really be close to anybody, that anybody that really knew you would reject you, what's it like? And this is where, very embodied, we go underneath the story and the thoughts to the earthy vulnerability that's there. And when she got into that, she could feel in her body the ache and the emptiness. And I asked her, how long have you been experiencing this? And she felt like she couldn't remember a time she hadn't somewhere sensed that in her, feeling entirely alone. And that's when I often describe this as kind of the ouch moment. That's when the compassion came, that she was able to begin to sense that quality of compassion. This is when the egoic self starts loosening and dissolving. If you want to get out of inferior or superior, when you could start really contacting vulnerability and feeling kindness, that starts fading away. So I asked her the final question. Who would you be if you didn't believe this? If you didn't believe you were fundamentally flawed? And you can ask yourself that if you feel like you're in a space of feeling unworthy. I mean, who would you be if you really did not believe that belief? For her, and the reason I'm telling you this story is because her description was interesting. She said, I don't know, but there'd be a huge amount of energy and a lot of possibility. And I'd be very innocent because I just wouldn't know. Everything would be filled with possibility and hope. And I got that sense that when she could see who she'd be outside of that old belief, it was like that child of God. That she was just kind of like more open to the world. And so it was. And she didn't take on a new identity like, oh, now everybody's going to love me and accept me. It was more just this quality of openness, of not bad and not better than and not worse than. That was so interesting. And so as she went on over the months, she described this spontaneity that she had never had. Not deflated, just not inflated, just more spontaneous. She could see other people's vulnerability, whereas before it was like those blinders of I'm so bad. She couldn't see others. Everybody else was insecure too. And she could see more of the goodness. So this is the possibility. Remember, when we're not in that humility place of here we are all together, we're up or down. And if we're down, there's a way to bring compassion to that. There's a way to wake up out of the beliefs that really lets us be like that child of God. Like, okay, so what's possible? Each encounter becomes a kind of adventure because we don't know what's going to happen, but love is possible.